Radio is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store. Shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Lafayette location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome, everybody. Always good to be introduced by the great Derek Schultz, the dulcet tones of Derek Schultz. This, of course, Acre Pro Wednesday Night Live, straight from West Lafayette, Indiana. We'd like to thank the people at Acre Pro here. When it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialist, of course. They've got decades of experience in the great state of Indiana dealing with agriculture. No one in the market knows it better than Acre Pro. Whether you're dealing or doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. I know Jellison does a lot of land deals down there across the state of Indiana. So when he has land deals he has to do, he visits acrepro.com, or he calls Kyle Spray or members of the Acre Pro team. That number is 765-775-6502 to talk to your local land expert today. Again, that number, 765-775-6502. And there's that man I was just talking about, the great Dub Jellison. No Alan Karpick this week, right? And so Dub and I have to carry the ball on Wednesday Night Live here. Alan's detained, enjoying some time overseas. So Dub and I, again, are stepping in. And, a lot to talk about. Purdue coming off the bye week, Dub. And a chance to sort of reset after 4 games, right? I guess before we really jump into any real Illinois analysis, kind of it'd be interesting to see maybe what do you think of the Boilermakers at the quarter pole here? Maybe a few things that have impressed you and a few things you think Purdue still needs to really work on.
I mean, first and foremost, I think this is where we all kind of expected Purdue to be from a wins-loss perspective. You figure they'd beat Ball State and Southern Illinois, and then USC and Notre Dame were tall tests. So 2-2 is about where I thought they'd be. I think the offense has really impressed me. I was really high on the defense coming into the year. I wasn't sure of how this offense would look, just with all the uncertainty. A new starting quarterback that didn't have much experience in Ryan Brown, a receiving core with not much experience and not much production, an offensive line, which, as we know, has struggled. They didn't have much experience. And then to top it all off, Josh Henson hadn't called a game in 10 years. So I've been very impressed with the offense and how they've been able to move the football. I've been very impressed with Ryan Brown. I know, the interceptions have been a sticking point for him and something that he's got to clean up moving forward. But just in terms of, his maturation process and his progression, I've been very pleased with where he's at right now. And then defensively, I'm very surprised by what's happened or by what happened against Notre Dame. I didn't think that defense would get carved up like that, and it's a group that's kind of taken steps back, in my opinion, just throughout the year. And some of that is just the nature of the beast, playing better and better offenses as you've gone on. But that was a group that I thought would be a real strong point for them. And I think both the offensive line and defensive line have kind of surprised me a little bit as well. I think you and I were both very high on the offensive line coming into the year. And then the defensive line, I thought they had some potential on the edges. We just haven't seen it yet. And then up front, I was really high on Chops Harkless and TJ Lindsey, who's now out for the year. So about where I expected them to be. I know I gave a long answer there, but about where I expected them to be in terms of wins and losses.
Yeah, I think 2-2. Most of us, like you said, thought they'd be at this 500 mark as we headed into October. Here we are, the big question was how were they going to look against USC and Notre Dame, I guess, right? First
Yeah.
of all, they really weren't super dominant in the first two games.
No.
I mean, we get it, right? 82 new players, 54 portal transfers, a new staff, a new scheme, et cetera, et cetera. So that was mildly alarming. It didn't totally throttle a rebuilding Ball State team or throttle an FCS SIU team. And then we get to the big boys, right? And you talked about some of the talent, the jump up in talent. The USC wide receivers, the USC quarterback, the Notre Dame offense, their quarterback, that running game, maybe the best running back tandem in America. So you don't want to be too harsh on Purdue, right? The defense did show, like you said, some areas to be worried about. And now the real fun begins. I think October is going to offer us maybe a more sharper focus of where this program is in 2025. Yeah, I know Illinois is going to be formidable, but then you got Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, more peer level programs. I know two of those are on the road, but still, this month may give us, like I said, more of an accurate assessment of where they are in year one in West Lafayette here. And like you said, boy, the play up front, that's where football is won. No secret there. I would say from Pee Wee football to the NFL, if you're not good up front, you can't block, you can't stop another team's run game. You're probably not going to have a real good football team.
No.
And you talked about the O-line, you're right. Bigger, deeper, but they only play the five guys, and the right side's had some issues. But again, I think like you said, they are where I thought they were going to be. Now, Dub, here comes Illinois, right? And what do you want to see against the Illini? Purdue's a 10-point underdog against a very good Illinois team. Dub, what would be victory in your eyes come Saturday at high noon?
Well, first of all, that line surprised me. I thought it was going to be closer to 19-20.
Really, that big?
USC, yeah. Maybe I was just kind of believing in Illinois after their win against USC. And, kind of seeing Purdue their last time out. Maybe that's why I thought that. But, prior to the year, I had done a predictions post, and I predicted that Purdue was going to knock off a top 25 team. And this is the one that I had circled. Simply for the fact that, Purdue's played very well against Illinois over the last 10 meetings. I think they're 8 of 10 against the Illini. And even in the loss last year, one of the worst Purdue teams, I think, maybe the worst Purdue team we've ever seen, you and I both. They only lost by 1 in Champaign against a ranked Illinois team. So I think first and foremost, just from a mojo perspective, I think Purdue's got a shot here. But, I think Illinois is susceptible defensively. I don't think they're as good defensively as they were last year. I think they're last in the conference in total defense, last in pass defense. So that's an area that Ryan Brown and that passing attack can attack. And I think that gives them a better chance of winning this football game. Because we've seen the run game. It just hasn't been there. Haven't opened up holes. So I think this is, although Illinois is coming off a big win, they also got Ohio State the following week. Yeah. So it could be Purdue's best chance to spring an upset at this point in the season.
Yeah, I was talking to some people that cover the Illini the last couple of days, and this is looked at as a trap game for the Illini. They have the USC game at home. Now they come to West Lafayette. They go back home next weekend and play the mighty Buckeyes. So you're right, potential letdown for Illinois. And you're right, Dub. The Illinois defense, looking at those stats, is not real impressive. I think if Purdue's going to win most any game, they may have to score close to 30 points. And if they can get on Illinois early here, I think you talked about a fast start being a key to this week's game. And, yeah, they're going to need a fast start to try to get Illinois on its heels early. And, Dub, maybe this is the game where Purdue finally gets some takeaway luck. It's the one takeaway so far this year. It happened in the last ball game. Maybe this is that game they get 3 or 4 takeaways. The problem is Luke Altmaier doesn't throw picks. He doesn't have any picks this year at all. Maybe the most underrated quarterback in the Big Ten. And while they do struggle defensively, offensively, as you know, Dub, this is a very good team. They got 3 running backs they like. Caden Fagan kid's about 250 pounds. They got some playmakers at wide out, and again, that quarterback Luke Altmaier is special. And I think Brett Bielema is a pretty good coach too.
I do.
So yeah, it's going to be a tall task here to try to get out of a Sally with the W, though. Dub, in your mind, I talked about October, the potential there in October. Do you think Purdue could really come out of October 2-2 or maybe 3-1?
I think that should be the expectation. We've kind of seen the two opposite ends of the spectrum. You got Ball State and Southern Illinois handle business there. We're very competitive against USC. Although it was a 17-point loss, it felt like a closer game than that, especially in the second half when they started to get their mojo back offensively. The turnover just killed them there. And then Notre Dame showed why they're Notre Dame. And I think that these next four, with the exception of Illinois, I think Illinois is in that class with USC and Notre Dame, right? But with Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, I think all three of those are very gettable games and games that if you're a program like Purdue, you have to win. It's very rare that you're going to knock off a Michigan, a Notre Dame, an Ohio State, heck, maybe even in Indiana where they're at as a program right now. You got to beat the teams that are in the middle of the pack with you or at the bottom of the pack in the Big Ten. So that's going to be the key. That's something that we haven't seen over the last couple of years out of Purdue. And it's something that, like you mentioned off the top, Barry Odom's going to have to prove that his program can do this, that can beat these other types of programs that are very similar to them.
Yeah, you're right. The peer programs, the programs you're trying to climb over to get to that upper echelon of the Big Ten. It's going to be tough to win at Minnesota, Dub.
Yeah,
I'm sure the Gophers are going to be favored, and they're. I know this may not be PJ's best team, but he's a good coach, and they're tough to beat up there. They could be favorites at Northwestern, and maybe a favorite at home against Rutgers for homecoming. So yeah, 2-2, 3-1, Dub. If this team finishes 4-8, hey man, Vegas had them at the over/under win-loss total at 3.5. So,
yeah.
Boom, there you go. Hey, if anybody has questions out there, feel free to hop in the chat. We have a few that are streaming in right now. To Jim Garfinkel, our buddy Jim Garfinkel, who's a prolific question asker. Wondering about walking wounded. Let's talk a little bit about the injury situation for Purdue, Dub. You mentioned early TJ Lindsey out for the year, suffered an ACL injury against USC. Just kind of give people an idea of the impact his loss has on that defense.
Yeah, I think from the start of fall camp, all of us were really high on TJ Lindsey. The coaching staff really liked TJ Lindsey. He was a guy who's super fast twitch for as big as he is, and was kind of the perfect complement to Chops Harkless. And he was a guy that I think you and I both had big expectations for. So it's disheartening to see him go down so early. When he was getting his opportunity, he didn't really play last year at Auburn. So, he's a big time player, and hopefully he has a good recovery and can be a great player down the line. But now you got to see guys like D'Amico Kennedy, Ian Jeffries. Those are two guys that Barry Odom named on Monday.
Yeah,
in terms of how they're going to replace them or replace TJ Lindsey. So they got their work cut out for him, because I do think it is a bit of a drop off just in terms of the talent and kind of the projected production that you were going to see out of TJ Lindsey compared to the other guys. So they're going to have to do it by committee. And I think Illinois is a really good test. Like you mentioned, the three running backs they have, including Caden Fagan. So that's going to be a big test for them, and see if that defensive line is going to hold up against them.
Doug, I guess we've seen one trial run without TJ Lindsey in South Bend.
Yeah, wasn't great.
Not so hot. Someone asked the question too about the 3-man front. We saw Purdue come out in a 3-man front defensively. I guess the fourth guy, they would walk a linebacker up to the line of scrimmage, but basically just 3 down linemen in the first half, and it was an abomination.
Yeah.
Anybody who watched the game realizes that the Purdue staff made adjustments in the halftime, went down back to the 4 down linemen. But yeah, Lindsey by far, he's an active guy. One of those 300-pound guys who's active. There's nobody else on the roster like him up front. I mean, Harkless is good, but he's a nose tackle.
Yep.
God bless D'Amico Kennedy. I know Ian Jeffries is a guy they like a lot from Arkansas State. And, the kid from, Jamarius Dinkins, the
Yeah.
kid from Kentucky who's been there for 2 years. And maybe Josh Burney. I mean, those may be your 4 guys that can maybe try to fill that gap in there. But nobody's of T.J. Lindsey's ilk. So, yeah, just a big loss. That's football, right? Everybody's got a sad story they can tell you. Offensively, Dub, our guy, George Burhan. I mean,
your guy too.
Purdue loses its best defensive interior lineman. It loses maybe its best player on the team overall, and George Burhan, the tight end. So, not a good start injury-wise for Purdue. Not a lot of injuries, but some key injuries for the Boilermakers. Of course, George hurt that we saw his arm his left arm in a sling as he left the field in South Bend. And I saw him in that same sling earlier this week. Not sure if it's his wrist or what, but anyway, George is out. How long is George is out? Not sure. Barry Odom was asked Monday, will we see George Burhan again this year? He just answered yes. So, not season ending, but maybe we'll get more clarity on the timeline of maybe a potential George Burhan return because, Dub, you and I both know there's not a lot of meat on the bone at tight end after you get by number 81 there. Just a lot of guys. Christian Moore, Christian Earl, and then, of course, Rico Walker, who dropped a touchdown pass up in South Bend when he got his big chance. So someone's going to have to step up, and Josh Henson said it's going to be by committee. So we'll see what happens at tight end if anybody does step up, right? But at least, again, I think we and I agree that receiving core, there's some playmakers there, but that's another area too, Dub, where injuries have struck before the season even started. Talk about the 2 guys that we've yet to see. And again, we're not sure when they're going to come back, but I mean, again, 2 pretty good talents that still means 2 left for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, a guy that we've talked about quite a bit coming into the year, and then just talking about his absence is Denylon Morissette, perhaps Purdue's best wide receiver. It hasn't even played yet. I think he really took a step from last year to this year in what we were able to observe during spring ball and fall camp. So kind of uncertain timetable on him. And then the same goes for Chauncey Magwood, a transfer from UCF, a guy that came with Darren Hinshaw. He's a guy that the staff really liked. He was making plays in spring ball, and we didn't see him throughout fall camp. And so kind of uncertain on his timetable as well. We don't get a lot of answers from Barry Odom in terms of energy or injury updates and things of that nature. But if you're Purdue, you would hope to get both of those guys back because I think they have a solid nucleus of guys at receiver that have blown me away. I thought that was going to be one of the worst spots on the team. But then, Michael Jackson has really come into his own. I think in a lot of that for him, I think was just getting the opportunity. I don't think he got much of an opportunity last year at Georgia. At USC, you saw glimpses of it a little bit. Now we're starting to see it a little more. Nitro Tuggle is going to keep soaring. I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he's the one clear-cut NFL talent on the roster, just in my opinion. So, and he's coming into his own. He's starting to make more plays. EJ Horton's made a lot of plays. And then, a guy that we've kind of forgotten about over the last couple of weeks is Armand Branch. He burst onto the scene against Ball State, and then we really haven't seen much from him. I think one or 2 passes against Notre Dame. So a very solid group, and Purdue would hope that they get some reinforcements here pretty soon.
Yeah, nice foursome there, Dub. And they like to throw the ball to the running backs too. Devin Mockbee is actually number 2 on the team with 11 catches. Devin Mockbee is a guy who could be key. Had some big games against Illinois his first 3 years here. So we all know his value, Dub, for sure. We got a question. Shango Jakuda. He's asking about the morale at practice, Dub. And do we see more activity at the DB spot, I mean, I'll handle the morale thing. All these practices, we only get to go see one each week. It's on Monday. And, it always seems that practices, after a while, they all sort of look the same, right? What day of the week is it? But they're always an energetic bunch. They've got their energy coaches, the guys to get people up, and you count on your players doing that too. Especially this time of year, Dub. You went through camp. You're 6 weeks into the season. Guys are aching and they're hurting a little bit. And sometimes it's hard to get motivated. So this is a key time to keep everybody pumped up. But yeah, there's Barry Odom's teams. I think he will not, let you not have energy. I mean, he's an energetic guy himself. Probably gets up at 4 a.m. But yeah, I think that the morale and the energy of practice has been good, Dub. And again, let's go back to the DB question. We've seen it. Every mistake a DB makes is in the wide open field for everybody to see. God bless them. I mean, kind of tell us what you think back there, Dub. I mean, they always say they're playing the best guys they got. They've got about 6 or 7 guys that play between corner and safety. Just your quick assessment. You think the corners have been better, or the safeties? Is there anybody that you really think has stood out in the back end of that defense?
Yeah, I think the safeties have played better. Just and they've been asked to clean up a lot. Kind of what we saw from Dylan Thieneman.
Yeah.
Who just had a really great play to with Oregon's win.
Don't bring that up.
I'm sure Purdue fans are just overjoyed about that. But
when that happened, I was gonna go to the message board to see how quickly somebody posted about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Purdue fans are kind of happy for him.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
a Purdue family.
We might get off on a little tangent. To answer your question, but it's kind of what we saw out of him a couple of years ago, where he had 100+ tackles, but because he was forced to clean up so much that the front seven missed. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing from Taj Rael and Ross Slusher. 2 guys that are, I think, in the top 8 to 10 nationally in solo tackles per game, right? That I think Purdue posted earlier this week. So those 2 guys have been very impressive. And I think Miles Slusher, taking a year off from football, coming right in, earning a starting spot over guys like Crew Wakely, Hershey McLaurin, who had starting experience the year prior.
Dub, they said he hasn't played the last 2 years.
That's right, because he's only played 4 games at Colorado, 23.
So that makes it even more impressive. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, and you can kind of tell, I think, physically, he's kind of a step above, the rest of the guys. And he's really shown it. So I think that's a very encouraging sign. I think when it comes to cornerback, that's where a lot of Purdue's issues have stemmed from. I was looking at Pro Football Focus the other day. Tony Grimes has given up over 100 yards in each of the last 2 games. And granted, against USC, those are 2 NFL wide receivers, clear-cut NFL guys, potential first-round picks. And then Notre Dame's got some good receivers as well, but still, you can't have your top cornerback giving up 100 yards in a game. That's just something you can't have. And I think some of it in watching it back, I think some of it was a little fundamentals and just being a step slow. And when you do that against wide receivers like Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane and Brandon Faison, they're going to blow right past you. Or Malachi Fields, excuse me. He's the one that scored the 66-yard touchdown. So we thought we knew what we had in Grimes. You and I did. He's going to have some struggles. And then you go over to Trey Wright, who's gotten some more run. Hudari Hines has been in the mix. Ryan Turner has been in the mix. I think that's probably the 4 that they continue to run with as of right now. Maybe you see Chilo Cummings potentially. I know he had gotten some first and second team reps during fall camp, but I think those are the 4 or 5 guys that you're going to continue to see at cornerback.
Yeah, you're right. And, Mike Shear, the defensive coordinator, he spoke on Monday, and he addressed the opening 66-yard touchdown pass by Notre Dame. Said that wasn't all on Grimes. The guys on the other side of the field weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. There was no real help. So that's something else you always have to factor in too. Yeah. Just like when a receiver, maybe there's a bad pass to a receiver. Well, maybe the receiver ran the wrong route. It's not the quarterback's fault. So sometimes there's always more layers to these mistakes than what we initially jumped to conclusions about. But yeah, we all know Grimes has to play better. You're right, Dub. And I agree with the safeties. Rael is all over the field, man. And and Slusher's been a cut above as well, and Wakely off the bench. I mean, it's they got some nice players at that spot. Just a quick reminder again, we're coming to you tonight because of Acre Pro, the Midwest Farm Group. Again, these guys have decades of experience in Indiana agriculture. Nobody knows the market better than Acre Pro. Again, you can always visit acrepro.com, or you can call Kyle Spray or anybody at the Acre Pro team, 765-775-6502. Dub, it's that time of year too, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches are getting fired. They call it the silly season, some people do.
Mm-hmm.
Happening in September. I mean, and the timeline for these firings has really sped up the last couple of years. UCLA, Deshaun Foster, gone. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State, gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw Sam Pittman, Arkansas, gone. 3 pretty big jobs, power jobs. Of course, we all know the connections Barry Odom has to Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Was the DC there from 2020 to 2022 after he left Mizzou. Connect the dots. Everybody connects the dots, right? And the hot boards come out 5 minutes after coach has been fired. We've been there, right? We put hot boards together.
Not too long ago.
2 hot boards in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, our own Pete Nakos of On 3 in Nashville had his Arkansas hot board up. Barry Odom was on it, right? And, it makes sense. Again, as you connect the dots. Now, personally, I don't think Odom would leave at this point. I don't think Arkansas is a better job. I think maybe it is a better job, but it's a slightly better job.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry Odom's already got a big job. And again, Arkansas is a tough place. And unlike coming from UNLV to Purdue, which was a big step up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Purdue, Arkansas, if it's a step up, like I said, it's a very minimal. So I just think the sweat equity he's already got invested in Purdue here, Dub.
Yeah.
He brought all these families here already. He went through all these recruiting machinations. He's flipped the roster, and he's just getting the ball rolling here. Would he really leave after just 1 year to go to Fayetteville to start this all over again? I just don't think so, And the synergy he seems to have with Mike Bobensky seems very powerful. I don't think it's a lot of false bravado and just happy talk. I think he really enjoys working with Bobensky and seems to feel like he has a lot of support here, which matters. As long as you got the resources and you got people that have your back, that's got to be a good spot for a head coach. So that's sort of my 2 cents. Barry Odom. What do you think? You think it would make any sense for him to even entertain to go back to a place like Arkansas?
I don't know. If he wants to get back in the SEC, get back to where he's kind of grew or came up at Mizzou, kind of get back down there. I potentially, I don't necessarily see it right now, just because, like you said, he's not even 1 year in at Purdue, and I think he's really put a premium on trying to get this thing turned around and doing so quickly. So I personally don't see him leaving. Maybe if Purdue runs the table and then one of the bigger jobs that's probably going to come open, like Florida starts calling, maybe. But money talks, and Curt Cignetti didn't leave Indiana after last year when he probably could have. So it's hard to tell for sure, but in my heart of hearts, I don't see him leaving.
A lot of people thought last year, those jobs Arkansas was going to open up. Of course, there were hardly any job openings last year, Dub, because teams were sort of bracing for the revenue share, right?
Yeah.
They weren't sure what their money situation was going to be, so nobody wanted to write big buyouts for these head coaches. There were just a handful of major jobs that turned over. Obviously, Purdue was one of those, and Dub, it took an utter collapse for them to make a change, right? It was so bad here, they had to make a change. Everything I was hearing, I'm sure you were hearing the same stuff, was they were going to do all they could to try to keep Ryan. There were plans in place to bring in maybe some other support staff, but again, it got so bad. I don't need to remind anybody watching this how bad it got, where they just had to make a change. But again, had these jobs open last year, had Arkansas open last year, I think maybe Odom would have been a real viable guy there coming up from
I think so
UNLV to
too.
go to Fayetteville. And Oklahoma State, remember, he grew up in Oklahoma. He had a brother who played for the Sooners. Of course, we're talking about Oklahoma State, but still, I'm sure a place like Stillwater, Oklahoma, again, his home state, the old Big 12, that would have maybe had some appeal to Barry as well. But again, man, I tell you what, you look what Mike Gundy went through there, supposedly, with the lack of resources. You wonder how good of a job Oklahoma State is. But again, this day and age, if you don't have the resources, and supposedly Sam Pittman didn't have the resources either.
Mm.
When I talk about resources, we're talking about the money to pay players. I know revenue share factors into that, but there's other ways too. But as a head coach, you have to ask yourself, am I set myself up to fail if I take this job? So they know what questions to ask. They're not dummies, but these jobs are hard to get, Dub. They don't come open very often, especially in the Big Ten or the SEC when they do. Even if it's a quote-unquote not a great job, boy, it's still an SEC or Big Ten job. And it's going to attract some pretty big names. So we'll see what Florida does too. There's talk about, people think Eli Drinkwitz could be a guy there, but it's fun to speculate about coaching hires and when that whole we're going to get more momentum here, Dub. We'll see if USC keeps losing. We know about Lincoln Riley's status, and there's going to be some things that happen that we don't even have on our radar right now. So again, we both of us think that there's no reason for Odom to even pick up the phone and answer a call. Should a call be made at all? So some people are wondering what we're drinking, Dub.
I got water in here.
I got cold coffee. I got my water here.
That's 9.
No, I know.
You're drinking coffee?
Yeah, I'm drinking cold coffee. So 9:31 here I got on my clock. So we've talked about October, and then the opportunity in October, Dub. November, we know is brutal, right? They have I think it goes at Michigan, Ohio State home, at Washington, bye, and then Indiana on Black Friday. So that's why Purdue's got to make hay in October. And Dub, real quick, give me through 4 games, the quarter poll. Give me your offensive MVP and defensive MVP for Purdue.
I think offensive MVP, I think you got to go Ryan Brown. Without question, I think, just what he's meant to the offense, just, without the run game. I think you put Devin Mockabee up there too, just because he has been involved in the pass game, even though the run game hasn't been what I think a lot of us expected. So I go Brown for offense. Defense, I'm going to go Charles Correa. He's a guy that I really enjoy watching. And I think he's a guy that he has a chance to play football for a really long time. Leading the team in tackles for loss. I think third or fourth tied for third in tackles, and then second sack. So he's a guy that's exceeded my expectations, and my expectations were pretty high for him coming into the year. So I think those would be my 2 guys. What about you?
Yeah, too. I think I probably would agree. Both those linebackers, Manny Powell too. Well, he's the 5th-year guy, right?
Yeah.
His body looks like a 5th-year senior's body, and he's a leader too, Dub. He's a leader. The staff always likes to bring him out to talk to the media, which always tells you a lot. I get the sense he's well respected in the locker room, carries himself well. Again, an older guy and a very active guy who plays to that, they say, the echo of the whistle. So 2 UNLV linebackers, easily the strength of that defense. Alex Sanford's the 3rd linebacker who's solid. We've seen him play a lot more lately as well. And we'll see if Winston Berglund can get on the field again at some point. And then Sanders Ellis, right? Another linebacker. Both you and I loved the Tennessee State kid, man. I didn't think they were going to get Sanders Ellis. They got him, I think in the spring he committed, right? We were watching spring football. I remember he was at spring football practice with Meredith Berglund escorting him.
Yeah.
And they got him. And boy, you and I both think he doesn't play much. I kind of wonder if they can trust him yet with the playbook and his assignments and all that. Because physically, he looks like he's ready. But long story short, linebacking has been solid. And maybe the team MVP, as you know, is Jack McAllister.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was giving you the opportunity.
I asked Barry Odom about McAllister, and I didn't get the answer I wanted from him this week. I was kind of disappointed, man. Come on, dude.
Do we ever get the answers that we really want?
He just said, well, I hope we don't have to use him too much. Well, sure, we get that, but come on, when you do have to use him, he's been very good.
Yeah.
Speaking of punting, Dub, and we can shut it down after this, but you've heard that stat. Jordan Jones, our colleague, told me this first. Purdue did not force one punt each of the last 2 games. You got to go back to the SIU game last time. Purdue forced a punt. So maybe I shouldn't end on a negative note. Give us something positive, Dub. We'll close it out here. Your biggest surprise players. And give us something positive.
I'll leave you. I'll leave everyone with this, just to kind of cap things off for Illinois. I think Purdue's kind of struggled to finish drives of late, especially against Notre Dame, having to settle for field goals.
Mm-hmm.
When Notre Dame's offense is really humming, you can't do that. And I think if Illinois' offense starts humming, you can't do that. Good news is the line have kind of been lackluster in terms of keeping teams keeping teams from scoring once they get the red zone. So they're 76th in the country, allowing 86% of the time. So which is a lot further down than Purdue. So potentially in an area that Purdue can exploit, something that they're going to need to do if they want the game.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe we know that Illinois defense does not look like a steel curtain. So the combination of Purdue's offense, maybe with the home crowd on a beautiful Saturday, it's supposed to be a nice, hot, warm Saturday. They kick off at high noon, hammer down Cancer Day. It's going to be a great atmosphere, I think. So, Dub, again, we appreciate always talking with you and dropping knowledge. And you dropping your knowledge on all of us. We appreciate everybody stopping by to pose questions and just to watch and support us. There's no Golden Black Live on Friday. Like I said, Alan is still out vacationing. And but of course, we'll have our Boilermaker pregame radio show put together with Derek Schultz. And then we'll come to you, of course, after the football game Saturday with our Saturday simulcast with Big Nate Barrett serving as the host there, and Brian Newbert and Dub and myself. So again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Acre Pro, and we'll be seeing everybody very soon.
As you all know by now, Golden Black Radio has also teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet. Offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 and over only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that can expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.